Hey guys, my name's Tara. I'm Disney Mummy with a Mess. If you're new to my channel, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. I wanted to come on here to have a chat with you all about what's been happening with me over the last week. Because if you've been following my past videos, you know I've been struggling with chest pain. I've been struggling with a high heart rate, and I've been struggling with having my Tysabri infusions. My Tysabri infusion 8 weeks ago had to be stopped because I was having a funny sensation and my heart rate jumped up, my blood pressure jumped up, and they didn't know why. And obviously I'm still waiting for my appointment to see the cardiologist, which will be in May. However, my MS nurse said, go ahead with your MS treatment. What could go wrong? So on Thursday last week, I went ahead and had my Tysabri treatment. The only thing I did ask them if they could keep an eye on my blood pressure throughout, just keep an eye to make sure it was okay. So as I was having it, I was a little bit nervous. However, it went fine. The infusion happened. It was my 45th, I think, 45th infusion. And it was fine. It was just like any other infusion. No problems at all. However, when I got home, I noticed an hour later where my heart rate is normally a resting heart rate of around about 100, it jumped up to 120. Now it stayed like that for over an hour, and I was keeping track of it, just keeping calm, just watching telly, just keeping track, because I've an Apple Watch, so I was just keeping track of it. And then I noticed it was starting to slowly get higher, and then it got to 150. It never dropped. Usually with my heart rate, if it goes up high, it only goes up high for a couple of minutes and then it comes back down again. However, with this, it was getting higher and higher and higher, and it wasn't coming down. So it was then at 150. So I thought, this isn't right. I best call someone. So I called the rheumatology ward where I have my infusion, and I asked to speak to one of the MS nurses. The MS nurse wasn't available. However, I put the phone down, and 2 minutes later, the rheumatology ward called me back and said, the MS nurse says, it's not the Tysabri what's caused this. You should go to A&E or go see your GP. And that was it. In that time, my heart rate spiked to 188 beats per minute, which is high for me. It's spiked to 200 before, but when it spiked to 200, it's come back down really quick. It's only done it for like a couple of minutes and come back down, but yeah, it went to 188. So I called my GP because I didn't want to go to A&E if I didn't have to. They didn't have no appointments, but they got a GP to call me back straight away. I explained everything to the GP, what was going on, and he went, there's no point you seeing me, go to A&E because it sounds like it's something a lot more serious. So off me and Chris, and off we went to A&E, which to our American friends is sort of the emergency room. And we went, and literally they got us in straight away. We didn't have to wait in the waiting room at all at first because, you know, it was quite serious. My heart rate was at about 160 beats per minute. And then they got me through to, because they have different parts, different areas in our local hospital. So they have like the minor injuries department. Then they have sort of a couple of different rooms where they stick people, but they've stuck me in the majors bit in the middle so they can kind of keep an eye on you. And then they hooked me up to a machine, to keep checking my heart rate, and at that time it was between 150 to 160. And I sat there and I waited and I waited, and that whole time they just kept looking. As they were walking past, they just kept looking at the machine behind me. My blood pressure was still kind of high. And then finally someone come through to chat to me. And he kind of went, right, he go, not too sure why it's so high and why it's staying so high. He said, usually it should come back down. He said, so what we're going to do, he go, especially with you having this infusion as well, he go, what we're going to do, we're going to try something out, but don't worry, I've got the paddles here, like the shock paddles, just in case anything goes wrong. Which is not something you want to hear when your heart rate's really high. You're really scared and you just don't know what's going on. But yeah, so he tried something. He made me like blow really hard into this little syringy thing because he reckons that might sometimes calm your heart rate down, which it did for about 2 seconds and then jumped straight back up to 150 again. So yeah, that didn't work. Then he said he'd take my blood and send that off to the lab and see how that would go, which they did, but he didn't have a clue. Next thing, it was change over time, so he said he was going, but then someone else was going to come and look after me. So this new person came in and he got me to do the exact same thing again. It blow into this little tubey thing to try and get my heart rate down. But what he did say is by them doing that, they can sort of see clearer how your heart rate's going. So if it's missing beats or if it's any problems with it. So my heart rate was fine, but it was just really, really quick. And they didn't know how to speed it, like to slow it down. So finally, they called the cardiologist down, which took about an hour and a half for him to come down, but they finally called him down. And I have been waiting weeks to see a cardiologist. Some of you may know I was even hooked up to a 24-hour heart monitor as well at the beginning of March. So he had all my information from that as well. And when he came in, he go, yep, I know exactly what is wrong with you. And I was like, woohoo, fantastic. He go, you have inappropriate sinus tachycardia. So yeah, that is what is wrong with me. And what it means is when someone's heartbeat is just going far too fast for what it needs to be. Now, one thing about that condition, I've looked up myself on the internet. I know they say you shouldn't Google stuff, but I did. One of the causes of it is adrenaline. And one thing I need to know, which I need to speak to my MS nurse about, is can Tysabri cause some sort of adrenaline in your body? And is that why that made my body to go crazy? Because if that's the case, is Tysabri really the right medication for me now? If it doesn't, and it was just a one-off, then maybe I'll be okay. However, going back to that day, he also got an ultrasound and he done an ultrasound of my heart. And while he was doing that, he also found a hole in my heart. And he go, that hole in your heart. He go, a lot of people who have them also experience migraines. And I was like, yes, I get migraines a lot. I suffer really badly with them. I take medication to stop them. Also, I experience migraines like you're getting like you're having a stroke, hemiplegic migraines. And he knew exactly about them, and he went, yeah, that would all be caused by that. So that was that. But he was fantastic. He explained everything to me. He was fantastic. I couldn't have asked for a better cardiologist to come down on that day to explain everything to me. So that was that. They gave me medication to help slow my heart rate down for the time being. It is kind of working. It's slowing it down, but it still doesn't feel great. But I don't know if it's still early days. However, I've got my appointment for the beginning of May, so we shall see what happens then, and if there is anything more they can do. But again, I do still have a Tysabri appointment in 3 weeks' time now. So it depends, what do I do about that? Do I go ahead with that Tysabri, or do I wait until I see the cardiologist? So yeah, decisions to be made. Anyway, that's everything from me for this week. I just thought I'd give you a little update on what happened with me. So sorry for all the information. Anyway, I hope you guys are all keeping okay this week. Has anyone got inappropriate sinus tachycardia and also MS? And if so, how do you deal with it? If so, I would really appreciate you commenting down below and letting me know how you manage it. Other than that, that's everything for me from this week. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. Please subscribe. Please hit that bell notification so you'll know when I add new videos. I will be adding new MS videos every Tuesday. Other than that, that's everything from me. I'll see you next week. Bye.